For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of top fuel funny car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. WFO Radio. Get ready for the Thunder Valley Nationals. Bristol Dragway, just days from now. Joe Castello here, and we are planning on connecting with Matt Hagan, the points leader. Has had a dominant season so far for Tony Stewart. Hagan going to be on the show. We're trying to get connected. Today's kind of like a weird internet day for whatever reason. I'm still always amazed that we're able to do this at all, but we are trying to get connected with Matt to talk about his big win out there at the New England Nationals, which was yet another victory, but his first win over Robert Hite in 3 final rounds. And so I think that those guys, not that they had to get the monkey off their back, but that was going in one direction, too much for them. And so Dickie Venables and the whole team over there rallied together. Hagan gets the win. We're going to talk to him before we go back to Bristol, which Bristol and Norwalk going to be a little back-to-back action. And I'm super excited about it. Norwalk, we're going to have our ice cream eating contest, which is a little social media thing we do behind the scenes. Before we get to Matt, he's signing on right now. I want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to do WFO radio. Like legitimately, without these folks, I couldn't do this show. I couldn't sit around and, talk drag racing, but I love it. Like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. A new episode of Hidden Horsepower is up. Jim Shepard Racing Engine Development is the feature. It's from the PRI trade show. You're going to love it. Total Seal makes rings for Stock Eliminator. They make rings for Formula One and even some of the Nitro cars. They've got cutting edge technology that you should go to the website and find out about. If you need a set of rings, you need one ring, they've got them. TotalSeal.com. Also, Phillips Connect, Phillips-Connect.com. Jim Epler's going to be out there with the technology trailer for the transportation industry. They've got it going on. Justin Ashley making final rounds and maybe busting through for a win this weekend. Phillips-Connect.com. Of course, VP Racing Fuels and FTI Performance Transmissions. We'll tell you a little bit about them in the future. Marvin Rodak, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and samtech.edu all on board. We're going to tell you about them. But right now, let's head out let's make sure he's ready. I got to get the big thumbs up from Mr. Matt Hagan. All right, I think I got the thumbs up. And we'll see. He's riding along. What's up, Matt? How are you?
What's up, man? Actually, my boy, he's driving. He's finally got his learners, and so I got a chauffeur nowadays, you know what I mean? So
that's right. That's your son?
Yeah, it's my son, Colby. He's actually driving himself over here to play basketball, so I'll probably switch seats real quick in the middle of the show or something, and I'll have a little better service once we get up to where this place is at. But you know how it is, man. Just never enough hours in the day, and between farming and the kids and trying to get ready to go to Bristol, do your show and some other media stuff. It's like we're gonna get it fit in. You know what I mean?
Well, you're doing a great job, and tell him he's doing a great job. His eyes did not come off the road at all to look at you or the camera. He's doing a great. Keep up the good work. We got a funny car driver in training. Now, how about that? Have you guys talked about that? Does he want to do what you do?
It's just one of those things right now. I want him to focus on school and ball and being a kid and all that kind of stuff. And, if one day we look up and that's something he decides to do, then we'll go down that road. I kind of got a late start with it, on a four-wheeler and didn't really get into it until I was able to really drive and stuff like that. So I think he's still got plenty of time to do something like that if that's what he chooses to do.
All right, so let's dig into it. This was a huge win. We've talked to you a few times this year. You've gotten wins, but for my money, getting that, you and Robert have been clashing this year, but he had been winning the clashes. You guys had to get one, and you did. That was a big emotional final round, and it looked like your guys felt that about that final.
Yeah, you always felt that. Robert and those guys are tough, man. I mean, there's no way around it. They do a great job bringing their A game to the table, and I feel like, the races we'd won previous to that, we needed to win or should have won. And, every time we faced up against Robert, it's just it was always something. We had a cylinder out, or just, didn't have enough tune-up, or, just a lot of different things, or hell, I don't know, he might have left on me. I mean, just no matter what the situation is, we just didn't have enough, you know what I mean? I felt like, coming into that race weekend, we really looked at, Dickie going like, we're bringing enough, you know what I mean? He told me, he said, we're not going to get outran, put it that way. So, and Dickie Venables is the man when it comes to just really racing well on Sunday and doing a good job and being a great racer on Sunday. And, so I knew, you just have some of those feelings on race day when you're like, this is probably going to be our weekend. And, it's one of those things where we got it done, and it was big to get it done against Robert up there,
Yes, well, and it's going to be a slugfest. There's 2 heavyweights going out of it. Now, I know you ran JR and you had some tough runs, but as of now, you guys are showing that you're the class of the field. And coming in second last year, Caps is going to get into the mix. We got a nice little stretch coming up, though. Thunder Valley this weekend, Father's Day weekend, close to home, and you're running a special paint scheme that's close to your heart.
It really is. It's one of my businesses, TruHarvest, and we, I started the business because I lost my brother to opioids 4 years ago. And, it's such a painful thing to watch someone go through and deal with. And, with him being on Oxycontins, and within 3 years, it killed him. And, so when we were legally able to grow CBD and, produce it, grow it, and be able to bottle it and put it out here to our consumers, it was a huge thing for me, just because, it's not the cure-all be-all, but it truly is helping people with manage their pain, manage their sleeping, manage their inflammation. I mean, you have people with restless leg syndrome, hit me up. They're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had, problems with that since I started your product. And we have people with arthritis and, just degenerative joint diseases and different things like that. And it's just like, man, we're really helping people. And that's for me, obviously we would love to be, making piles of money doing it, but we're not even doing that. We're just, crawling back out of this hole that we created with all this, this infrastructure that it takes to do all this stuff. And, honestly, with the CBD stuff, it's been, a lot of warm and fuzzy because, like I said, it's not the cure all be all, but man, if we're not really helping people get through the day and get through their nights and manage their pain, it's just amazing, man. It makes my heart warm to know that we're helping people and offering something that's non-addictive, and something that, like, my brother got on painkillers because he had scoliosis, and they put 9 pounds of titanium in his back, and he got with a pain management doctor, and she gave him a dose that honestly was for a terminal ill cancer patient. I mean, she just had her hearing 3 months ago, and they gave her 7 years in prison, and she lost her license, and she killed 3 other people. And it was one of those things where, just very, very unfortunate, so this company is really about my brother and helping other people and really being able to, offer some stuff that's not addictive to, like these opioids and painkillers are.
Wow. And, this is a very serious conversation that hopefully everybody out there has had with their family and all. And to hear the way, and I know your story, and I know that terrible it has been for you, but that you're turning it positive is a good thing. And, opioids, like we knew, and the way we learned about them through people we knew, friends, family members, regular people, TV shows. I think everybody knows now, though. And when you compare something like CBD, which comes from natural ingredients, it's not processed, it's a no-brainer, right? But that's a conversation that's recent. Like not long ago, people would have said, oh, no, you should go to jail for that kind of stuff. And now it's on the side of a really good-looking nice car in the NHRA. Like, that's a huge statement by you for the courage to do it, the reason you're doing it, and also NHRA for being smart enough, at least in my opinion, to realize that things have changed and that they should allow it.
Yeah, there's a huge education side of things that goes along with it. And people think CBD, or they think marijuana, or they think psychedelics, psychoactive side of things. And it's just not the case. You get all the healing benefits from the plant without the psychoactive side of things of being high and different things like that. So it's really a win-win situation, being able to utilize that plant and the way we process it and the genetics of the plant to give you all those benefits, of the pain management and the anti-inflammation and the help you with sleeping and all that other stuff without, feeling like you're walking around high, So, like I said, I think everybody just was quick to jump and, assume. But after, years of educating folks now about what this CBD is and how it can be beneficial, people are opening up their eyes and ears and being more open-minded to allowing stuff like this on a race car and on TV and different things like that. So this is a huge step for CBD industry in general. I know they're just starting to run some of it on the NASCAR side of things. And, this will be probably one of the first CBD sponsored cars in NHRA. So it's a huge milestone for our sport, for the industry itself. And I'm just glad to be a part of it. Glad that Tony was okay with it. Glad that NHRA was okay with it. And it just shows the education process that people have taken to really learn about what CBD is and how it can really help people and benefit what they're trying to do, to manage some of their illnesses or ailments that they have throughout the day,
No, and I think it's great. And that's it. At the educational process, like years ago, people would just kind of close their ears to information, and now they don't. They go out, they research, they learn, and they realize, like, oh my gosh, man, we've been doing nothing for that. And good job by the NHRA for allowing it. Now you're going to be running the Mike Rowe Works Foundation. I listened to your podcast with him just yesterday, right? You were on with Mike Rowe, I think mid-May. And wow, what a great job, Matt. You're disguising your intelligence to the rest of us at the NHRA. Why do you hate us?
Say that again. I'm sorry. Someone tried to call in.
It was a joke. I made a joke and it was covered up. I'm saying you pretend to be a lot less smart than you are.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess, people ask you a lot less questions if they don't think you're as smart as you are. You know what I mean? I've learned over the years to sit back and listen and not say so much a lot of times. But, everything that you do in life, you have to learn something from. And whether it's our cattle side of things or the CBD side of things or racing or anything like that, my dad has been an amazing teacher as far as, businesses. He's got 42 companies and 900 employees. And, sometimes you learn just to sit back and listen. And for me, you kind of act like, I'm just this, dumb redneck farmer, and you play it off like that. But, if you want to start breaking stuff down and, operating businesses and infrastructure and managing people and all that kind of stuff, it takes a lot nowadays to do that. And you have to be ahead of the curve. And no different than me and my dad were talking about, the things that are coming up right now with the housing market and inflation and, and looking at if there might be a recession coming up here soon and different things like that. You have to stay ahead of the curve with a lot of this kind of stuff and just being ready to not be, you got to be, proactive instead of reactive with all of our businesses. And that's what we try to do on a daily, but it's challenging, in today's economy and to bring new sponsors, which I'm excited. I know we got some new stuff coming out with Tony Stewart with a new sponsor we're going to announce really soon with, I think for the St. Louis race coming up. So I'm pumped about that, but we all knew that Tony was going to, step in here and bring some new people into play for the NHRA and bring some folks over. So it just continues to get better and better at the Tony Stewart Racing facility.
I highly recommend everybody in the WFO universe, not that it matters to Mike Rowe's audience, right? Because it's like a drop in the bucket, but we need a lot of listens on that podcast because, Matt, you did a really great job. Like, it was really well done. And I think that you are going to gain fans and our sport's going to gain fans. He's got a lot of people that follow him and like him. And they don't know drag racing. That's my takeaway, though. It's funny listening to you. And, Force was on with Adam Carolla this week or something also, right? So listening to someone who's drag racing talk to someone who's not drag racing is listening to someone speak Chinese. Like you're right. Talking about all these things and they don't know any of them. And you're like, well, no, the groove, all right, the middle of the lane. Well, the tires need to be sticky. They're like, oh, the tires need to be sticky. Just so amazing how we speak a different language than the rest of the world.
It's a total different language, and what was really cool was like Mike Rowe, he went to Roy Hills Drag Racing School, so he had a little bit of insight on kind of what we do at a lot slower pace and being able to drive a car and different things like that. But, I mean, it just, when I did Mike Rowe's podcast, man, for the last 3 weeks, my sales have been through the roof. I'm out of beef already, you know what I mean? And can't kill enough fast enough. And those folks that listen, they support what he does, and so it's, to when we can jump on and cross over to these different, platforms, it's amazing and it's huge, and our CBD sales went up and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't do it for that. I just did it because Mike has a great platform for kids and young adults that are coming up into the trades industry. And that's, we got a thing with Gear Wrench right now, that basically I'm, the more likes and shares and views and people that want to go on a ride with me, I get to donate tools to his foundation through Gear Wrench and different things like that. So being able to integrate some of the stuff that he does with what we do over here in drag racing and crossing over, it's huge. That's how we grow our fan base. That's how we grow our platforms individually. And for Mike to let me come on his podcast and kind of talk drag racing, talk farming, talk just real world stuff, is pretty amazing, and he has a massive platform. And, and it was really cool to be able to do that. And we got to, as NHRA, as fans, as drivers, as everybody, we got to start doing more of that. We need to have some different folks on your show, Joe, that crosses over on your platform to have different things with different listeners. I know I got to win to come on your show, but it'd be cool to have people like Mike or somebody else on your show to do some stuff like that as well. So it's just all about growth. It's all about our fans. It's all about showing love back to them. And, and that's how we got to go out here and approach this and to grow our sport.
You don't have to win. You're a big celebrity in our sport, Matt, but you do win a lot. So, no, I agree. There has to be cross-pollination. Drag racing is like this little island, and everybody that comes to the island loves the island. Like, this island is amazing. Why don't I hear about it more often? And we're doing a good job, though. Like, it's getting out there. It needs to get out there more. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you did a great job because you came across as very personable, right? People like to like people, and you were very likable in that interview. I don't see why any hardworking person who didn't know about drag racing wouldn't flip it on Fox this weekend to check you out, right? Simple as that. Speaking of which, 5 weeks in a row on the big broadcast network. It's a very important race this weekend for you and the championship and getting another Wally, but 5 weeks on Fox in a row. That's a pretty big and unprecedented deal for NHRA.
It's massive, that's what we got to have, because we battle it out a lot with NASCAR and other types of sporting events that Fox shows, and for us to be on Big Fox is big. It's a big footprint. A lot of folks are watching and listening, and anytime that we can do that, week after week, it becomes a routine. People love to get in a routine. People they don't like change, right? They want to keep doing what they've been doing, you know what I mean? So we got to get people tuning in on a regular basis to make it a routine, and then they get upset when it's not there, you know what I mean? So that's what we need. We need more of that, and we're blessed to have a good platform to do that. And I know NHRA is trying hard to have more of that, come our way in the future.
All right, I don't want to take too much of your time because you're being a dad and you're teaching lessons. Looks like it's going real well, by the way. Great job. Like, I'm stoked that
we got here safe.
You
we didn't
made
hit
it.
Yet.
But tell me about Thunder Valley. They changed the track a little bit. Maybe fewer bumps in the middle.
Man,
what do you think?
I sure hope so. Thunder Valley, it's a Bruton Smith track, and it's one of our nicer facilities we go to, and it's just unfortunate that the left lane is so awful, and there's a tunnel that goes under there, and it really turns into a one-lane racetrack, especially when the sun's out. It's hot, it's greasy, and it's pretty much the kiss of death if you get put over in the left lane. And hopefully they've done some stuff to change that around. I know Bruton likes to have, he owns Charlotte and Vegas and all this other stuff, and it just, all I really care about is being able to put on a great show for our fans. They want to see side-by-side drag racing, and pedal fests are great, but it doesn't need to be a pedal fest in one lane, you know what I mean? And it's kind of one of those things where lane choice is going to be very, very important this weekend, and being thin up there on the starting line is going to be huge as far as a driver mindset concept of what we're trying to do to keep lane choice. And we want to try to be over in that right lane. I know last year I got beat by J.R. Todd first round, I think it was, and he was stuck over in the left lane, and I said, nah, there's no way nobody's going down that thing. And he come by me bouncing and carrying on and the back end up, and but he blew by me and turned the wind light on, and it was just like, man, good job to those guys. They figured it out, and they pretty much dominated. I think they went to the final that weekend because they figured out that left lane. And so it's not doable. It's very challenging, for these crew chiefs over there to try to apply power to do that. So, this is one of the few racetracks that we do go to that it's going to be like a one-lane racetrack, and you have to prepare mentally. Your crew chief needs to be ready for it, and as a driver, you need to do what it takes to keep lane choice. You can't be diving it in there and robbing ET from your crew chief on race day and giving up lane choice just because you want your reaction time to look better. So we'll see how it plays out, and hopefully they've made some changes and done some stuff to help that left lane. But I know, my mindset is to try to stay over in that right lane.
Got it. No, listen, great stuff. All right, go do your dad thing. Thank you for taking the time out. We'll see you in a couple of days. But again, great job, great win. I know many more to come, and you got me working on like a week where you don't win. We're going to have you on just to prove you wrong.
All right, fair enough, Joe. Appreciate it, man. And thanks to all your listeners that support what we do and support even not my sponsors, but all the other sponsors. We can't do it without our fans. All these companies really do look at what our fans do, buy, and support. That's why Dodge is so, adamant about being out here, because we have so many fans that do buy, all the Dodge and Mopar stuff and the parts and pieces. So thank you to all the fans, to all the listeners that support what we do and allow us to do what we do. Sorry, don't have no branding on, and over here playing dad with about ready to shoot some hoops. So, just trying to fit it all in, Joe. But
you're going to play basketball? Are you going to play?
Yeah, I'm going to throw some hoops. Yeah, for sure. So, all right, my man. Y'all be good. Thanks.
Later. Bye, Matt. There he goes, Matt Hagan. And the internet cuts out just as I expected. Way to go, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Sorry, it's always chaotic, brother.
It's good. It's good. It's all good. Later, brother. There he goes. Matt Hagan with us here on WFO Radio. Can you imagine trying to drive to the hoop around Hulk Hagan? Like, that's a long, long distance. All right, put your comments in the comment section, guys. And wow. Okay, so first of all, someone asked about the Micro podcast, and I hadn't really commented on this because I hadn't heard it. He was going to be on, and that's great. And Force was on with Adam Carolla yesterday. And so what I understand is that they're working hard to book our star drivers on some of these podcasts, which, I would love to be one of them. These guys are big mainstream celebs, and they've got massive, massive reach, and we're working really hard. And thank you to everybody who supports WFO Radio. Honestly, like, we're grinding it out, and we're building our audience one by one, like literally one by one. And Matt has been so gracious over the years to come on. He listens. It's really amazing. And he mentions, mainstream interviews. Like, I love doing those interviews. I love doing interviews on all subjects. Drag racing is just one of them. And so I would love to adapt a portion of the show to do that. And it's just like he said, though, there's so many great ideas and there's so little time to execute them all. We're working on it. Like, for instance, yesterday, Bill Skillman, we did a factory stock podcast in the normal Reinhart time zone. And it was great. Bill Skillman, car dealer. What did we end up talking about? The auto industry. We talked about how an F-150, there's 1,500 microchips in an F-150. In the electric F-150, the Lightning, there's 3,000 of them. So we're talking about the microchip shortage, and is it ever going to go away? And he says he doesn't think it is. And that was great bonus content. But thanks to Matt for coming on. I highly recommend both the Micro Matt Hagan podcast, because I'm joking with him. It didn't work out, but he comes across like, oh, shucks. Yeah, whatever. This guy knows stuff, folks. He's a very successful business person for a reason. And you put him in his element and you start talking about artificial insemination of cattle, and the guy goes off. It was really interesting. And Force with Carolla. Force was being silly. Brittany was good, but they got into some good stuff too. And the power of the podcast, right? Like, this is something I've been on for a long time. My story is a bit of a sob story in that when I left XM, Facebook was barely starting, and so was iPhone. So I never really got to drive my audience from there to this. And we pick them up one at a time after years. Like, oh my gosh, I listened to you on XM 10 years ago, and now I finally found you. I get one of those emails every once in a while, and it's great, but didn't really get to build a massive following on social and then just tell them, yeah, listen to the podcast. But it doesn't matter, because we're not going anywhere. This is what we do. And WFO is going to be here and has been here for over a decade, and it's great. But when I listen to, like, Joe Rogan, when I listen to Mike Rowe, when I listen to Adam Carolla, these guys that have literally millions of listeners and no one group, right? Like many different touchstones in the universe out there, sports fans, music fans, racing fans, hardworking people that don't have time for any of that stuff. And for those guys to hear about drag racing and respect it and understand like, oh, these people are all like hardworking, determined people who are not going to let something stop them. What is it? What is it that's going to stop them? Like, well, whatever it is, it's not going to stop them. And they're intrigued by it and they're interested by it and they want to learn more. Reassures me that, we're all in the right place. Not that we need that reassurance, but we're all in the right place doing the right thing. But my takeaway from the whole deal is like listening to Brittany and John try to talk to Adam Carolla and his podcast crew, listening to Hagan talk to Mike Rowe. We have to teach a course to drag racers about how to talk about drag racing to non-drag racers. Like that's the course, because we have our own language, our own, it was like they were hearing Chinese. The canopy. Well, because my canopy and this little canopy. What is canopy? What is that? On my dragster to keep me safer. Oh, okay. Well, these people don't even know what a dragster is, let alone a canopy, and thousands of layers into that. And it's nobody's fault. Just what I would recommend to drag racers is assume that nobody understands what you're talking about. And we learned this. We had this conversation just the other day, by the way, talking about, remember those walking tours that we had for a while pre-pandemic? We had these great walking tours. 50 and 100 people would follow me through the pits and we would tell them stuff. And I would do my best. I think one of my strong suits is talking to people who have no idea what I'm talking about. Not just in drag racing, like in general, like dumbing it down, like the mama bird, right? Like, giving the food to the baby birds in a way that they can digest it and understand it. And if you're talking to a football fan, you got to make a football analogy. And if you're talking to a basketball fan, you got to make a basketball analogy, or, carry that analogy through, folks. You got it. But we had done a tour and we had dumbed it down as like, the most basics. And everyone's like, oh, right. Wow, we got it. And then someone at the end, does anybody have any questions? Oh, yeah, I've got a question. Where's the track? Yeah. The track is over there. There's the track. Oh, didn't think that one. That one I didn't think. Like, hey, guys, welcome. The track is there. Nope, didn't do that. We were talking about burnouts and stuff. But we can always learn and we can always get better. And that's it. All right, we got a lot of comments there. I want to hear comments, and I want race predictions. I want your race predictions for Thunder Valley. Father's Week, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hagan's car, let me tell you, this is a big deal, guys. TruHarvest Farms, CBD. Everybody knows the opioid crisis was real, and a lot of people out there lost family members. And it's one of those very sad things like the pandemic that nobody really wants to revisit or talk about or think about, but it's real. And what Hagan is doing, and not just Hagan, but many others, as a, it might not work like the opioids did, but there's no, extremely negative potential repercussion. And that's what natural remedies do. So I'm all for it. But the car looks great too. Look at that. And the reason he's doing it, his brother, amazing stuff. But let me tell you about the people, speaking of natural remedies, people who make it possible. Now, you heard about some of our bigs at the beginning of the show, like VP Racing Fuels and Total Seal, of course, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. We really appreciate those guys. But like Marvin Rodak and his coffee, I was conversing with one of the Patreons yesterday, and he's like, you got me. I tried Rodak's, and now I'm a fan for life. And this is one of the Patreon people. He's already like a VIP listener. He sends money as a part of the membership, but so he doesn't, I don't push those people to purchase our sponsors because they're already, they're members of our VIP listener club. But if they want to do it because it's good, that's their right. And this guy was loving it. He says he's a fan for life. He loves Rodax. And that's as simple as that. You try it once, you have the experience. It's not just coffee. It's an experience. shows up to your house, you're trying something new. Remember, we had the coffee club for a while where he would just send something different and unique each week. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. Maybe you want to try some of that Nitro Joe Morrison blend and actually support a Top Fuel team out there, because look at the artwork, because some of the proceeds actually go directly to the race team, which I think is great and very cool. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. This one, speaking of cool adventures, you driving a dragster, you and your friends, you and your family. Matt's going to shoot hoops. You pick a day. They travel around the country. You go to wherever they are, or they come to the region that you're at, and you drive dragsters for an afternoon. You make 1 half track and 2 full track passes, and they can even set up a race. Like if you want to make it a corporate team building experience. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more, and be sure to tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. The same is true for samtech.edu. We got Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown this weekend. I'm super excited about that. Can anyone stop Bill Skillman? That whole podcast started thanks to the folks at Samtech. That whole category really started thanks to the folks at Samtech. And look how it has grown. Brian Massengill and his family, they know how to build and grow things. And frankly, so many of the folks out there in the machining industry, hands-on, schools, young people, like that's vocational schools, technical education, educating young people that not only is it okay to work with your hands, but to make a living with your hands, that it is respectable, but also necessary and absolutely helping our country, like helping us to be successful. Samtech.edu, give them, call them, check them out, and maybe you'll become an EFI tuner or a machinist or a CNC program, all of which are necessary and needed. Phillips Connect, of course, Total Seal Piston Rings, VP Racing Fuels, and FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Paul Lee going to be back out there this weekend. Super excited about that. Paul, they took a couple of races off. I'm interested to see how they are back, and also interested to see how the track surface is. They got to get it right. That whole team out there. If you want to become a Patreon, patreon.com/WFO Radio. Patreons, not all of you, but some of you. I sent out a load today. I was at the post office at 8:10 a.m. Yes. Beat the line. Third in line at the post office. It was great. Go to patreon.com/WFO Radio or WFOradio.com to check out all and any of our sponsors. And our merch store, you can get it from the app. The merch store is up, and we've got all kinds of stuff, including Miami Hollywood Speedway retro gear, which is very, very cool. All right, let's see what everybody has to say out there. Let's see. Sammy wants to do he called it a radio show. I think he means a podcast, and he's like, should I do it? And everyone's like, yes, Sammy. Why haven't you been on WFO, Sammy? That's the thing. I keep inviting Sammy onto the show, and he keeps telling me no. I'm making that up. But Sammy, come on the show, bud. I like it. Hagan, please brack the Selzy stash. Yeah, I didn't talk to him about that. I should have. He's there with his kid, and they're driving, and that made me a little apprehensive to make this a long interview, right? Like, he needs to be educating the child, I think. Good job. Thanks, Matt from St. Augustine. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, Matt did great. You got to hear him on the podcast. He did great. Joe, you do a fantastic job. Love listening to you. You always take time to say hi and speak with your fans. Well, that's the number one thing. This is a fan engagement show. It's an interview show, but it's a fan engagement show. And all my shows, typically, in my however many years of broadcasting, starting off on sports radio in South Florida, have been battling the callers, man, fighting it out with people whose opinions aren't necessarily the same as yours, trying to find common ground on an issue, working out subjects, topics, all of that. Like, I love fan and listener engagement. And I listen to talk radio. I'm a talk radio junkie when there was talk radio, but now there's not, because, social media has done so much good and a lot of bad. Like, once upon a time, you're a person with an opinion. Where do you go to share that opinion? Like, what do you do? And the answer is you get a sandwich board and you go out onto the street and you have your sandwich board and people read your opinion and they either agree or disagree or yell at you. Or your other real choice was to call talk radio, mostly on AM, and the host would be talking about a topic and the topic for today, and then you'd be listening, and hopefully your mind is open and you're being engaged and you're thinking about it and you've got an opinion, you call and you wait on hold for 40 minutes and the light's flashing and finally they bring you on the air and you get a chance to tell, I don't think what you're saying is right because of these reasons. And the difference between that and social media is social media, like you're hiding behind something, like you can't be called on it. You can disappear, you can delete, you can hide. It's your page. You have the right to say anything you want. And it just turns into a big mess. There's no organization. It's just a big mess of everybody fighting and calling each other out in terrible names. Whereas I always like to talk radio. That's why we always try to have some feedback from the listeners. What do they think? What do you say? Who's going to win the race? And we put the opinions on the screen. And, as long as we stay away from divisive subjects, which we're not doing that here. I mean, I'll do that. Depends on the subject, but I'll do that in person. But this is a drag racing show. And so if it's about drag racing, like should CBD sponsorships be allowed in drag racing? And my thought is absolutely they should be allowed for countless. What about alcohol sponsorships? I remember I was on XM when Clint Boyer, Jack Daniels, were allowed into NASCAR for the first time. And there were so many people that were very passionately angry that hard liquor had been allowed back into the advertising of the sport of NASCAR. And they have the right to their opinion, of course, and everyone does have the right to make their case. And they made their case, and I disagreed. I thought, no, man. Like Patron Tequila was on with Alexis for so long, and now it's Bandero, a tequila brand. I would like to see more of it. Formula One, it was all, alcohol. Some would call these vices. I don't think so. I call them part of American life. What about sports gambling? These sports gambling websites, sports gambling. We're in a state where there's sports gambling and it's legal. Should we be allowed to have like advertisers on race cars? Like these are interesting debates and discussions. I think it's interesting. All right, let's see what everyone's got to say. Other than, I used to work for a guy who was one of the greatest of all time in talk radio. And after a while, he got tired of the positive feedback and was like, enough of the sucking, guys. Enough of the sucking. Portland tonight, then Woodburn on the weekend. Dragster Jeff, one of our Patreons. Good luck. Found it. Podcast number 251 says Monica. Yeah, listen, but not right now. Wait. Won't be long. We're not on here for a long. It's not a long show. Numbers low today. Yeah, weird time, Wednesday. Weren't on yesterday. This is a big momentum sport. No Reinhart yesterday. We did Factory Stock Podcast, had Reinhart on Monday, just to show you. You mess with the schedule, Joe. You get everybody angry. Don't mess with the schedule. Had to. Reinhart was traveling on Tuesday. When do you think we'll see a first-time winner of any of the 4 pro classes this weekend, Lauren? It's very possible. A first-time winner, I don't know. We'd have to look at the entry list and find out who the possible first-time. They're rare. It's hard to win. It's so hard to win. And that's why when someone is a first-time winner, it's a big deal. It could happen. Hey, Joe, good day from Hungary. Wow, what are you doing over there, Pete? My mother's land, right? Ma's Hungarian, as am I. When I was a kid, I'm Italian and Hungarian, but really I'm American, right? Like, what nationality are you? The answer is I'm American, but my heritage is Italian and Hungarian. But it was funny, as a kid growing up, like the Italian got all the talk and the Hungarian not so much. So later in life, I'm making up for time, How about that, Ma? But it is Father's Day weekend, so I'll be talking Italian. Pro Stock Motorcycle this weekend. Yeah, I was just watching a little social media bit. Like, yes, there is Pro Stock Motorcycle this weekend. They are back at Bristol. Angel, the defending race winner. I'm excited to see what happens with, I believe, 17 bikes entered. What happens with can someone interject themselves into this Steve Johnson, Matt Smith show? That's what I want to see. And I want it to be, I'm not rooting for anyone in particular, but an Angel or an Eddie Krawick. Like if Eddie is not afraid to talk, Eddie will tell them both where to stick it. And let's make this craziness even more crazy. Like it's wrestling and it's one of these battle royales. Right now, it's a 2-man grudge match between Steve Johnson and Matt Smith. Let's get some other folks in there off the top rope. Here we go. Some predictions. Torrence. The Torrence pick. It's coming. It's coming. It's just, it's like the dragons in Game of Thrones. Like, they're coming. It's just when are they coming? The Torrence win is coming. We just don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. Hagan, again, another win for Hagan. That would change the dynamic of the year, I think. Erica, the dynamic would not be changed if Erica were to win. And Eddie Krawick, there you go, Monica. Sammy Eubanks, anytime. Yeah, Sammy, let's plan it. I love Sammy. Sammy, I did not know Sammy Eubanks. I did not know his music. I did not know anything about him. I know him from drag racing, which is awesome. Turns out he's like a well-respected, world-renowned blues singer who's got fans that follow him around, all that. And you can see him play in the pits anytime at the NHRA, and he follows the tour, which is great. Like, some of the fun things I do, and I'm not just kissing your butt here, Sammy, because you're on there. I walk the pits sometimes and try to separate myself from work and just get the vibe of the fan. Like, man, here's this guy, real talented, playing guitar, having a good time, putting on a show in between nitro warm-ups. What's better than that? People travel for that stuff. Joe, bring back the hats. Bring back the hats. I've got WFO hats. It's just such a pain to get made. If you want a hat, you can email me, joe@wforadio.com, and we'll have that transaction. But it has to be like an email. Last show of the week, yes. I travel tomorrow. I'm headed to Bristol. But you can watch my social media, WFO Joe. I thought I'd hear something about Troy. Good show, Joe. I wanted to play for him the thing that he recorded for Troy. For those that don't know, we have a listener, a Patreon, in our Patreon show on Mondays. Troy, who is a big money bracket racing fan. He's going back. He's building a car. He's going drag racing. He's going to start bracket racing. He shares his stories on WFO. Guy's a knowledgeable sports fan. And, listens to Lebitard and Stu Gotts. And he was like blown away that Stu Gotts was my intern back in the day in Miami here. The connection is right. But when Hagan got branded, Troy comes across with a strong opinion that he thought getting branded was frat boyish, was, I believe, the quote. And so when Troy wasn't on there, we hatched a scheme to get Hagan to say this.
Hey, Troy, I heard what you said. I'll see you in Vegas. I'm coming after you.
Right. And so we played that for Troy, and Troy, of course, became very frightened. And he shrunk down to the size of a little mouse. And now when we have our big listener meetup in Vegas, right? We're going to do one in India and we're going to do one in Vegas. Troy feels like he's going to be beaten, which is, how fun is that, right? Someone who thinks they're going to be beaten, except it's not really real. It's funny to me, at least. See you in Bristol. Good afternoon, Joe. See you in Norwalk. Yeah, we got a big ice cream eating contest going on in Norwalk. Got some cool stuff planned. Bristol, Norwalk, back to back. Going to be a lot of fun. Are you going to have a man to be a second? Are you going to have a man to be a second? I'm not getting that. It's me, I'm sure. Joe, loved the show. Always positive, very educational. Thank you, Scott. Got to grow, though, guys. Got to get as big as Mike Rowe, that podcast, so I can really tell you what I really think. CBD, yes. Yeah. Really helped me when I was going through cancer. 13. Well, if you're going through cancer, I think you should get the next level, too. Man, people are fighting cancer and dealing with pain and chemo and all that stuff. Oh, my goodness. So am I. Will tour the Hungaroring next week. Okay, well, I didn't know that, Pete. Way to go. We should talk about that. Get some goulash. Take pictures, Pete. Take pictures. I'm not going there anytime soon. Yeah. Max rooting for Camry Caruso and her VP Lubricants Titan Racing Engines Camaro. Torrence, Hagan, Erica, Angel, boys and girls. Angel will be a good win. People love Angel. I was thinking about Angel. She did this social media bit for Mission Foods. And there was a Mission Foods sponsored IndyCar in the race at Road America on Sunday. And I'm thinking about Angel and how, what a tremendous star she is. And how, as our winningest female racer, this doesn't matter in 2022. It really doesn't matter for her driving credibility. But she's beautiful, right? She's fun. She's smart. She's sassy. She'll tell you what to do. She'll intimidate you. She's good on the track, like the winningest female racer in the history of the National Hot Rod Association. Kind of an underappreciated star in drag racing. I really think Angel needs to be up front, at all times. All times. She's got the cred. And, women's magazines, like women's empowerment stuff. Like, why aren't they covering Angel? Like, why isn't she like an exact example of what kind of success can be had in the world? Those are things that I don't understand. And it's the same for like, AARP magazine. Like, why isn't John Force on the cover of that? Like, hey, old people, you don't have to just wither and die. You can, I'm trying to be funny, guys. Come on. But like, look at this guy, 73 years old. He's beating 20-year-olds at their game. He's still on the top of his game. He didn't get old. Why? How did he do it? What's the secret? Like, why isn't that a thing, man? There's so many magazines and websites dedicated to the topic. And we've got someone for every one of them in drag racing. And yet they I don't want to say they languish as unappreciated, but we're in our own little universe. You don't have to make spelling corrections. Come on. I got Troy's back. It's hilarious. Good stuff. Yeah, no, Troy is very funny. Let's do chicken paprikas instead. Let's do it. And get in touch with my original background. All right, guys, that is it. Appreciate you. A little bonus. Oh, listen how loud that is. Oh, my gosh. That never happens to Mike Rowe. He's got people, though. He's got people. I man Amanda Busick. Do you remember, Blake, when I had Amanda Busick send you a very special, I think it was a Christmas or birthday shout out on WFO? Do you remember that, Blake? That was a pretty big deal, Blake. Pretty big. Send AARP a suggestion. Yeah, I'm not a member just yet. Soon, though. Soon. Maybe Angel, not Angel. Right. AN-GEL. Thanks to Alan Reinhart. Thanks to Bill Skillman. Thanks to Matt Hagan. Everyone at Tony Stewart for setting it up. Appreciate it. Hope you guys shared the show. Fighting the internet a little bit today, but we made it through. Matt doing the dad thing, teaching the kid how to drive. Now they're going to go play some hoop. Right? You should have asked the kid if his dad fouls him. Yeah. I'm headed to Thunder Valley tomorrow. We're going to have a great weekend. Father's Day weekend. But I'm not going to get to hang out with my dad just virtually, so I'll tell him right now. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Thank you. And also thanks to my mom. And all the dads out there who have done a good job. Like, you raised your kid, and you loved your kid, and you were there for your kid, and you supported your kid, and you gave them some motivation, and you gave them a goal, and you held them accountable when they did bad stuff. Maybe even gave them a little spanking, a little physical discipline when it was necessary. Yeah, I think it's necessary sometimes. Good job, dads. It's not over yet, though. It's not over. You always got something to offer. All right, guys. Thank you very much. 100% a few weeks ago. Said Erica was chasing her. Yeah, Erica is. My question is, who's going to be first to 50? That's my new thing, the rivalry that I'm starting. Because a lot of it's good, but some of it is bad. All right, guys. WFO. See you in Bristol. Have a great week. Hit those archives.